Lower or upper back?
Upper, my neck is.
Ooh, that's-
It's been a struggle. I've just been carrying my baby. All right, Susan, yay! I've been looking
Thank you.
forward to this for
I
a
have two.
while.
I have two. Am I okay the way I'm sitting here?
A
Mm-hmm.
little more.
A little more what?
You might want to get a little closer so
Little
that
closer,
you can kind of.
okay.
There we
Hello,
are.
1, 2, 3.
That's what I wish I'd
I'm
have done
sorry?
that with Susan.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. No 1, 2, 3.
That's it right there.
What up?
Ooh,
That's the distance right there.
I won't do 1, 2, 3.
So be sure to designate which Susan you are.
Yes. Well, hello there. This is Susan Hamilton, and you're listening to the Offbeat Business Show. Thank you for sharing your valuable lunch hour with us. As always, I want to bring you some amazing people that will inspire you in your successful life in business. Today, I'm talking with Susan Morrow of Morrow PR, but we have a whole lot more to talk about with her new book that she's released and what she's sharing in a most unusual situation. I thought only to find out that this is actually quite common. Susan Morrow, welcome to the show. So glad to have you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm happy to be here.
So you had an interesting experience. Will you explain to our audience what you went through?
Well, in 1987,
Mm-hmm.
I have two children, Monica and David. Monica was about 5.5. David was a year and a half, and they were abducted by their father and taken to Mexico. I spent over 12 years looking for them, and fortunately, I found them in the spring of 1999. I found them, and from there, we were strangers, which is a whole nother discussion. But
So the drama wasn't over once you
the
did
drama
find them.
was not over. In fact, I like to say the journey really just began, because for us, as being separated for so many years, we had to learn to get to know one another again. And we even thoughts of being a family were far removed on that first meeting. So since that time, we've been rebuilding the family, and I'm happy to say things have definitely moved in that direction. We are today mom, daughter, son, and it was something I never dreamed would happen. Certainly, as I said, it was not the fairy tale ending that such separations often drive. I wrote a book, Unbreak My Heart, and my website's unbreakmyheart.net. And the book is really about that rebuilding of our family. It talks about the search, but it really talks about how we rebuilt, how we began to heal. And healing is a huge part of building after such long separation, building a family again.
You know, and it's possible, and it's such an inspiration that you've done that. But friends, you know that often we are building our businesses in our tornadoes, aren't we? We've got our things going on. So you don't know anything about chaos, do you, Susan?
No, nothing.
Nothing about
Nothing
chaos.
whatsoever.
I mean, how could you focus? I know you want to. Well, we're going to get into a little bit more about what your book is about. But if you don't mind, can I drag you back a little bit?
Mhm.
Because what amazed me about some of our very animated discussions, I've really had a blast getting to know you, Susan. It's really been
Likewise.
nice, and it's opened my eyes to so many things. And one of the reasons I thought this was appropriate for our business-to-business platform is because we don't realize the numbers here, friends. We do not realize the numbers here, and I don't believe for 10 seconds that I don't have listening audience members that are experiencing this. And how on earth do you get through that type of chaos, that kind of emotional pain, and you're trying to run a business?
Mm-hmm. Well, very much so. And actually, at the time when my children were abducted, I was working for a company, a software company.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate. I had a boss who was very understanding. And he, in fact, came into my office not long after this had happened and said, you know, some people probably could not handle working and trying to find their children or handle the crisis. He said, I think you can. I think you're tenacious. I think that'll work. And I was grateful to him. So many families or individuals, when they get into this type of crisis or any serious situation, often are not so lucky. They lose their jobs.
They just can't move.
They
I
just
imagine
can't
it's
move.
paralyzing.
And it was paralyzing. I also think this allowed me to grow. And I mean this not just personally, but professionally.
All right.
About 3 or 4 years after the abduction, when I came to the realization this was going to be longer than I thought in terms of finding Monica and David, I opened my own business. Crazy, open a business.
You're having a struggle and a
Yeah.
crisis and a tornado, and you decide to
well,
open a
why not?
business.
Why
Well,
don't I open a PR firm?
sounds very much like what I would do. I do think that's important.
Yeah.
That's a wise reaction. Let's
Yeah.
go for it.
Let's go, because
Right.
I felt, all right, I wanted something for myself. And truthfully, what I wanted both kids to come back and see someone who was stable, on
Who
her feet.
didn't crumble and
He
fall
didn't
apart.
crumble. Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
That's
And
beautiful.
so I did. I launched the firm, and this was the crazy 90s. I did a lot of things in the technology companies, but I loved it. I love what I do as a profession, public relations, and later I began to coin what I do really is reputation management. That came later. But the point is, I wanted to keep the business, and I did. Hired some people. I had the firm going, and reached out to large companies, did PR, medium size, and then startups. And so much of that I do today. The firm has had a number of different iterations. But the point, in fact, I speak today on a topic for business owners, both whether they're solopreneurs or small business owners or mid-size. If you were an owner and a crisis happened, personal crisis, would your business survive? And how would you manage it? And I talk about it, and I present this to small, to groups and to business owners, particularly to women business owners, because so often such
These types of things end up on us,
crazy
right?
subject will
Yeah.
end up on us, but really anyone who is, and are you prepared? And I'm a big believer in being prepared, having a plan in place to implement and work through, again, so that allows you to continue, your business will continue, even though while you're continuing to manage your crisis.
So, how many hours would you say a week you were spending towards searching for your children while you were working?
Well, I would say easily 30 hours.
That's another job.
Another job,
Yeah.
no question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So I imagine you had to really get connected with your resources in the community. You had to probably reach out and get your concentric circles meeting, right? So help us understand how those types of activities played into the success here.
Well, I'll preface, first of all, one thing I learned and I came to discover about myself. There was a point after when the abduction took place, I felt I was two people. I led this life, the double life, if you will, of professional life during the day and then personal life. So, the sun goes down, now my personal life comes out. The sun comes up, now I'm back to the professional.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I was two people, though. And what I found out, that they were all one and the same, of course. They blended together. So what I did, and again, I had support, which I can't emphasize enough. I had support from people around me, people I worked with, people knew, although there were people that was very hard for me to talk about these things, talk about the situation. But I reached out for that support that allowed me to manage not only the business, but what I did, I make it part of my day. If I had an appointment to talk to or a phone call to make in terms of the children. And there were times, of course, in that searching process when not much happened. When things went on a kind of a hold.
Yeah.
But I was always prepared when things did not. You know, when they were, oh, wow, I've got to move here.
But I
I've gotta do
imagine
something.
the
So
flexibility, right?
Yeah, and it
of
has
those
to do with
hours, right.
flexibility. And I was fortunate I was able to, begin to balance or manage that, and have flexible hours.
Thank you for catching yourself there. I think so often we get this idea, especially as women, that we've got to somehow balance our life. I'm really not quite sure that's what we're doing. It's really more like managing it. We really are. If we don't bring our authenticity and who we are to the table, everything we do is going to be inefficient and ineffective. We're not maximizing those relationships at all when we don't do that. So it had to be strange. I mean, I'll tell you, there are some similarities in our stories. Mine were that my children got into a whole lot of trouble, and what's got me working in the prison system were going to visit my very own children. During their teenage years, so they were gone, and that was my tornado. And when they were gone, that helpless feeling, and when I didn't know if they were in jail, if they were getting into trouble, oh my, what are they doing? The silence was deafening. It really is. And like you, I realized that I was much more powerful to do something, to take more control and authority over my circumstance by being in business for myself, and seeing what that looked like and watching that evolve and grow. And I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But we have, it's interesting, those relationships that have, those were years ago. And we've had a lot of healing since too. And it's nice, it takes a lot of time. And you look at how hard it is to juggle our life and business, but that's the 80% of us. 80% of us are experiencing our life in this turmoil in one way or another, whether it's addictions, abductions, incarcerations, veterans, senior care. And we still somehow have to come to the table and get things done. And I love the word you used earlier, tenacity. Yeah, I got the tenacity to do it. Yeah, that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Because you can't crumble up and there are times I felt like I could be tinfoil. I could just be crumbled up in a corner and just please allow me to be. And then there were other times, Susan, for me, I needed to allow myself to do that. I needed to allow myself just to take a deep breath and walk away from everything and settle my head and settle my heart about these things. I imagine you had to spend some time like that.
Oh, I did, very much. Yeah, there were various years, particularly in the beginning. It was very difficult to go to my daughter's school, to go to places where we'd been, even going places where families were. It was very difficult. Holidays were just.
I remember networking when other parents would come up and they'd talk about the great things their kids were doing, and I didn't have that. I couldn't come to the table and go, oh, yeah, guess where mine is.
Yeah. Well, it was the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have children? Yeah. Well, where are how are they doing in school? Well, I don't know. Yeah. Mother's Day was, or holiday birthdays. Very, very difficult. But coming back to what you were saying in terms of the business piece of it, I think that having the business gave me strength and gave me, I think without that, it gave me a grounding, gave me a foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
That was, that helped tremendously. I don't think if I had not had that, I'm not so sure where I would have been.
Absolutely. Friends, are you enjoying Susan Morrow as much as I am? It's pretty eye-opening, isn't it? Listen, we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about her book, and I think it's going to inspire you because relationships do heal, and we can get to the other side of this. And you know what? If you have plugged right along in your business, you're going to see the other side, that it's very valuable and it's very worth it. This is Susan Hamilton. You're listening to the Offbeat Business Show with Susan Morrow.
Sound good? Everybody's in good levels here. All right, part 2.
Well, righty then. And we're back. This is Susan Hamilton, and you're listening to the Offbeat Business Show, and I'm talking with Susan Morrow about her latest book, Unbreak My Heart. Susan's been through some fascinating things, painful things, And I think looking at our lives, I think we've all experienced some significant pain. But can you imagine your children being taken from you? And I think that several of you probably can. You've probably gone through something similar to this because, Susan, what was that number in America today?
Yeah, the number, there are 200,000 children who are abducted by a family member per year.
Holy moly.
This is according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the Justice Department. And these, by the way, these numbers include whether it's domestic cases or international
All right.
cases.
So that's interesting. Are you still working with that organization?
Very much so. In fact, we're very active. I currently I'm a consultant for a support group of the National Center, and it's Team Hope, is its name. We're part of what we call the Family Advocacy, and I oversee a team. I have 20 volunteers.
Oh, wow.
And each volunteer has been through a situation, in this case, a family abduction. So, in fact, we just had a monthly call last night, and talking about various topics about reunification, and everyone has recovered their children. So,
Oh, that's
in the
nice. So
process.
there's a
But it's very much present with us, and we reach out to so many families. And sadly, we wish we didn't exist, and in terms of our group, because then there wouldn't be abductions. But
well, the number is staggering.
it is staggering.
So how many calls are you taking? And I'm assuming that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
They're reaching out and calling
Yeah,
you.
the way, well, yes, there is a process by what happens.
Okay.
They'll call us directly, or they will go through the National Center. But I can expect, and you don't think in terms of, I look at each day, but I will easily get 5 or 6 new, what we call referrals each day coming through. So that's a lot.
And are you in a specific geographic location?
We are all, this is a telephone support group, and so we're all across the country. All the volunteers are around the country. And of course, I'm here in Dallas.
So you manage them through the
Yeah,
telephone?
we have to through the telephone. Everything's done by telephone.
So when you decided to finally write this book, how long did it take you?
Well, I had been wanting to write the book since once I reunited with Monica and David, although I have to admit a few years went through by before I even really started to consider. But the process in terms of me writing, finally picking up the pen, if you will, the computer, was about took 5 years altogether.
Oh,
And
wow.
the fortunate part, I wanted to write it, I wanted to retain the rights to the book, but I also had a publisher who came into play, which I was very grateful, because they helped me not only put me on a timetable of activity, but also they helped me with a number of aspects. Graphic design work, of course, getting up on Amazon, and it's available on Amazon. So.
Wonderful. And you're speaking to other people who have who are in a situation where they're having to relearn their family ties. I mean, it's not necessarily gone, but it sure feels absent, I imagine, and you're just getting started.
Well, very much so. And actually, I found with the book that even other situations, not just abduction, but also people who maybe have children who are adopted, or they may even have their family members who they've been separated and they've come back together, and there's time. I mean, patience, and it's one step at a time. Just because you reunite with someone doesn't mean it's over. And that's what I found. It's not the fairy tale ending. When people come back, reunite. It doesn't work that way. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to write the book. I really wanted to talk about what those challenges were that we've had as a family coming together. How we became friends. How we've had to overcome, a variety of issues. And of course, in our case, the children both, have 2 parents, and they still have connection with their dad. And so they're in the middle. And I always say children are the true victims of a family abduction.
No,
But again, others who have been through situations with their own children. It could be any tough situation where maybe they're not speaking with their children, or a number of things. They too seem to find certain information in the book that's helpful to them. I hope, and that's what I'm encouraged by.
And I think your message is very encouraging, because 80% of us are family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less,
Mm-hmm.
and we're working with our families.
That's right.
And if no matter what facet that
Mhm.
where that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
it affects everybody. It
Yeah.
affects productivity,
Very much so.
and then that family life. Everybody goes home to their own family and comes back to the table a little more drained, a little more exhausted, and somehow you've got to work within that. So, do you suggest family counseling at all? Do you suggest?
Very much so. Very, very much so. Yeah, in fact, as you mentioned on the professional or work side, I talk about that in the book, what it's like to maintain, keep the job going. I think family counseling and counseling period is essential. Now, I have to admit, during the years when I was searching, it was very difficult for me to find counselors who understood my situation. I would say back at that time, not that many years ago, but still, and even today to some extent, it is a difficult area to understand. To
What's
grasp.
the one nugget, though? That's the question that I've got in my mind as you're
Mhm.
talking.
Mhm.
What's the one nugget you got out of counseling that you kind of went back to?
Yeah, well, I think the one nugget is to believe in yourself. You learn about yourself in terms of who you are and really what your feelings are. In other words, love is unlimited. I mean, has no bounds. And when you love and when you can be patient and you dig deep inside, you know it can happen. And also, I think the strength, the confidence that no matter what, you will succeed. And I think that's true. Whether it's a business succeeding, whether it's your family, it will.
You have to believe it.
You have to
I
believe
mean,
it.
what would you
Because
do?
a door,
if
to me, it's a door. There's always a number of doors. You have always options. And I believe one door closes, okay, another one. But something opens for a reason.
Mhm.
Nothing's coincidental.
No, in those silent times, it's important to take them. It's
Very
important,
much so.
but you can't stay there. But just stay. But you need
You've
to
got
be
to.
able to take them
Mm-hmm.
and let your heart just
Mhm.
heal with that and move on. Otherwise, you can't deal with
No,
anybody.
you've got to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essential. The healing piece of it, sure.
So, when you're, what would you say is probably the biggest point of your book? Of all the different things that you cover and all the different things that your children weren't necessarily told the truth when they were taken.
That's
you
right.
were okay. So
They were
that.
told I was dead, or and then of course they thought if she was alive, which of course they found out. Well, why didn't you come and find us? I believe this, that in all families, family dynamics are amazing. I think it doesn't matter what the situation. I think the big point for parents to realize, number one, I think lessons learned is to reach out for support. Yes, believe in yourself, but reach out. Reach out. Have hope, have patience, but it's that reaching out. There are resources, there are people who can help not to do it on your own.
I'm
And
noticing that you've got the chapters are set up in such a way that your kids have
Right.
put information in here. Your
Mhm.
kids have said
They each have a chapter.
that's tremendously eye opening. Beautiful.
Well, I did not want the book to be one perspective. Many books are, just as I did not want to have the book be simply search for a missing loved one. I wanted this to be various perspectives. I thought it was essential that Monica and David each had their say. Their stepfather, my husband, also has his chapter in the book.
Wow.
And
You have really come a long way with forgiveness and having to.
Well, not the father, the stepfather, my
Mhm.
husband, but it's about his also good relationship as he's gotten to know them and what his relationship's like with each
Wonderful.
job. Yeah. But I felt it was essential to have those perspectives, for so many different reasons. No, there's not just one side, and the voices need to be heard.
So if if our audience wants to learn more about this and get this book, Unbreak My Heart by Susan Morrow, where do they find this?
My website is unbreakmyheart.net. On Facebook, it's Susan Morrow Author. I have a Susan Morrow Author page, and it is available on Amazon. Unbreak My Heart, Meeting My Children as Strangers.
I love that. And friends, I will also have that link on the replay page. And as always, you can find the upcoming lineups, the replays, and the magazine, as well as all of our wonderful sponsors at offbeatbusiness.com. This is Susan Hamilton. I've been talking with Susan Morrow of Unbreak My Heart. And until next time, find all your information at offbeatbusiness.com.
Wonderbar.
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you, darling.
Mm-hmm.